Hey guys, welcome back to DMAC Customs on the YouTube. Dave here in the garage, area 51 with side glass. See? That was last week's video. This week the plan was to do some work on the rear windscreen that goes in that hole there, but some stuff didn't arrive. It's held up in some airport somewhere and it's just sitting there according to the tracking. So this week we're going to start the wiring. Eh? Yeah. Confusing. So especially then when I'm not really sure where everything goes, but this should be good, eh? Just a bit of tape around that, that'll fix it. And we'll chuck that back in, and that should be nice clean signals to run the Holley Terminator X system. Just joking, we got a American Autowire wiring kit to go in this thing, which we have to marry up to our new vintage gauges and marry that up to our Holley Terminator system. So it's going to be a little bit of a kind of broken up into different stages, I think, this wiring up the Area 51 kind of process, so it won't be all one video because there's a lot of thinking and planning involved and then you end up with a sore head. So anyway, let's just get into it and get this thing going. Have to kind of keep moving ahead, so I wasn't really planning on doing the wiring just yet, but I've been collecting up a heap of stuff over the last, probably 3 years, starting with an American Autowire Highway 15 wiring system. Now, I've used these American Autowire kits before, and they're really good, high quality, and one of the reasons I like using them is they come with all sorts of stuff like, new headlight switches, new ignition switches and stuff like that, and all these little sub kits, and they're really, they take a bit of the kind of guesswork for an ignoramus out of the equation, if you know what I mean. I used a different kit to this in the old bomb truck, and that was quite a simple sort of setup, being small block Chev, headlights, tail lights, brake lights, a little bit of stuff for the overdrive, and electronic ignition, HEI sort of thing, so that was relatively straightforward. Whereas this project here, we have other complications, primarily the LS setup, which is predominantly to do with the Terminator Max kit, so that will cover most of that, but I still have to figure out. Oh, shut your little dog up, man. We're surrounded by little dogs. Yeah. Do my head in. What was I saying? So the Holley Terminator X Max kit that I've got, EFI system that I've got to run the LS covers a lot of that stuff, like all the management of all that electronic side. But the other kind of tie-in I've got is I have some new vintage, old school looking but electronic gauges. They look like normal sweep gauges and all that kind of stuff, but they've got doohickeys in them that have to be kind of tied in. Now some of it will be tied into the Terminator system, most of it won't, so it will be, the gauge setup will be kind of almost standalone, sort of. So I've got to kind of figure all that stuff out kind of simultaneously, but as I start laying this out. But this go around anyway, what I'm going to do is kind of organize all this, because as I say, I've been collecting up bits and pieces. So we've got headlight plugs and stuff like that. I actually bought those for something else, and I found them in another box, and they're brand new, so which was good. So we've got the rubbers for the headlight buckets, and we've still got to work out and kind of take apart the indicator turn signal switch and sort all of that out and work it all out and figure out how it all works, and then figure out how to wire a new wiring and stuff into it. But to start with, I've got to get this organized, and then we'll start kind of laying out the basics, if that makes sense. So we'll run all the front to back stuff, run it up to the fuse block and things like that. Just start laying it out. We won't kind of loom it all up just yet, but we just want to kind of figure out where it's all going to go. Plus I've got to add the air ride stuff into this equation as well somehow, somewhere. I did have all that kind of figured out. I should really go and watch my previous video when I was kind of figuring all that out, but I probably won't. But anyway, so that's, I'll just get this sort of organized and sort of try and get rid of a lot of the kind of bits and pieces out of the way, and then we can start figuring it out, you know what I'm saying. Okay, so this is a bunch of stuff that I've been collecting, and then we've got some kind of factory parts that I've got to go back on. We've got courtesy light door switches, the clock, I don't think the clock works, indicator arm, there's a little pump there for a washer fluid thing, but we've got a whole bunch of stuff, heat shrinks and relays and crap like that. Now in here in this kit we have like our fuse block that we got a bracket somewhere, that should be in here somewhere, that mounts up under the dash, and then we have the main kind of kit, you know, they have the headlight switch kit, they have, what's that, that's our ignition switch, which comes with keys and a plug, and I know it's not plug on, it's got eyelets. It's different to the had in the past. Normally they have a GM style plug on the back, but not anymore for some reason. That's a bummer. And we have headlight switch kit, a variety of kind of like sub kits, and you know, like probably some, you know, loose randoms, spares, shit like that. I don't know what that kit is. That is an accessory kit, and we have steering column turn signal kit, and well, you can get a screwdriver and a bit of a mat. Now you got this paperwork which come with it, which was a little bit sort of limited. Oh no, that's from the truck. So ignore that, because I don't think a lot came with this, but I went onto the American Autowire website and downloaded a whole bunch of stuff and printed it out, which kind of explains all these kits in a bit more detail for ignoramus. There's a mega fuse, there's a whole bunch of stuff, and we'll work through it. Alternator connection kit, we'll work through it sort of piece by piece. Anyway, I'll find the paperwork for this kit, this sort of start stuff. I didn't print that out because I thought I had it, so I'll just have a look. Okay, so this is my fuse block bracket that I made in a previous video, and that fuse block just kind of bolts up on, I can't remember which way it around goes, it goes that way I think, but I've got to bolt it up under the dash, so I'll get that bolted up and probably mount the fuse block. I was thinking we shouldn't mount the fuse block to start with, but I'm thinking maybe I will. Can always take it out again, but I'll mount that up and we'll get that in there. Right, so this goes up here like so. Get it started. And we need a couple of button heads. There we go. Oop, okay, that didn't work. I think I might turn that around so that all comes out there. Yeah. Okay, so that's that mounted up there, so that we can pull out away from the brake, you know, assembly and stuff like that fairly easily. There's room here too if I need to attach a relay box, or it could end up, you know, on the kick panel somewhere, I don't know, but this leaves room here for all the main harness to kind of come out and then get routed wherever it's got to go, up and over and through and all that kind of stuff. That's my plan. I don't actually have a crazy good plan at the moment. I just kind of start with one thing at a time, one kit at a time, so to speak, and then yeah, it all starts coming together and hopefully doesn't get too messy. So I want to kind of try and keep it pretty tidy. So next up, we'll start at the beginning. Need a new battery for you guys. Something else I thought I'd mention, I've used, this will be my third American Autowire kit, so this is only the third car I have completely rewired. First one was a 82 long wheelbase C10, so full size Chevy truck, originally diesel, converted to injected petrol, and then injection, TBI stuff, and it was just an electrical nightmare when I got it. Everything was just no bueno, So I used a Highway 25 kit, so that was pretty comprehensive. Like, it had provision more than this one. I probably should have got the 25 for this one, but it had a lot of stuff for extra add-ons, which we can still add to this easily enough, I think, if I'm thinking correctly. So I'm no auto electrician. This is not a tutorial. This is just me kind of going through my American Autowire kit and getting some wiring done. That piece of paper I pulled out before is the Highway 15 thing. I have already been in here and started kind of drawing a plan for the back, sort of middle, front of what I need to have kind of going in each direction. So we got rear lights, park, brake, return, sort of fuel sender, fuel pump, air ride controls and valves, boot light, don't know whether I'll bother, main EFI, power harness, because I was thinking the battery was going to be in the boot, but it's not, so this is gonna change. We got inside the car, we got interior light, wipers, which we have basically that wire there, that's our main feed. So that, to hook that up, all we have to do is take it to the fuse block now. Ignition switch, dash, we've got VSS signal and stuff for the transmission. Heater is dialed, that just needs to be run straight to the fuse block now. Air ride, which is a complex thing, and then we've got our dimmer switch and stuff, which we'll be mounting up here, which should be one in that kit. And then through the firewall we've got our neutral safety switch, which will come up through onto, actually no, we'll probably use the neutral safety switch down on the transmission. And then we've got alternator, we've got the headlight, park lights, turn lights, horn, which I haven't done anything with, electric fans, trigger and relay and all that kind of stuff, ignition and the mega fuse, and the starter wire, which will go from the neutral park switch to the starter, and I don't know, temp, oil, water temp, and so that stuff will tie in with all the gauge cluster and stuff. Anyway, we'll start at the beginning and start roughing this out. So it's ignition switch and starter kit is where we're going to start. So that's kit A, which is that one there. So I'll dig all that out. Alrighty, so this is my ignition switch starter kit. Now inside the kit comes with another little breakdown of how things work and options and stuff like that, and some more bits of information and types, keys and stuff. So in there it sort of explains, we're going to go this, where is he, this guy here, this guy gets plugged into the fuse panel, and then we'll go to the ignition switch, grounded, and then through mega fuse, which I'll have to mount in the engine bay, and then back out to the starter post, the power post on the starter motor. And what else was I, then we got the ignition wire, which on a HEI or a points distributor, there's an ignition feed, which I think is what we will need for the Terminator Max. I'm not too sure on that. I think so. So that's like power on, key on, crank, and ignition. Yeah, so I think that's what we need. I'll have to check that paperwork when we get that far, but for now we'll probably run it the wire back out, but just not terminate it with anything at this stage until we get onto the the Terminator stuff. Get it? Terminator. So yeah, I guess start with, I've got a hole in the firewall that I'm going to run a lot of this stuff through, hopefully. So I need to find a grommet, again, hopefully, that fits through there, that I can run a lot of wiring through. I may end up drilling more holes for wiring. All the Terminator Max stuff is going to have its own hole, but the main power for the Terminator Max has to kind of go through separately to all the signal wires. So confusing, man. So anyway, we'll start with that one and we'll run that, plug it in, figure out where it needs to go. Plugged in up in here and just tucked up over the back there for now, and the bird nest is beginning. So I've got to sort out a ground. There's this one ground which I may just cut that short and put a new eyelet on there, and then that's that taken care of, and the rest of it goes to the back of the switch, which is actually only up here, so we've got heaps of extra. So before I cut that, I've got to figure out where it's going to route to and stuff, and then we've got a whole bunch of little zip ties that we can kind of temporarily tie everything together before I tape it all up. What's going on here? Now, this is the stuff that all comes off the other side of the ignition switch. This yellow wire I don't think I'll need, because that's for a coil ignition. So we'll get rid of that for now, since I don't think we need it. There's a little screw. Put that there. So we'll put that back into the ignition kit bag. Get that out of the way. That's into there, just like that. And then yeah, all this stuff is like our neutral safety switch, starter solenoid wire. Then we've got a big red mother jammer, and then a couple pink ones. So we'll sort that out once we get this sorted, I think. So I might start with figuring out what to do with these, where they're going to go to my switch. Do I cut them now, or do I hang them out through the hole? I'll figure out a route for these. I might put a couple of little zip ties on here for now. These little wee tiny mamma jammers. Might need my glasses actually. First bunch of ignition wires coming through the hole that the ignition switch is going to be living in, I think that's where I decided to put the ignition switch. That sort of makes sense to me. And we'll have wipers. What's going over here? I can't remember. I know I looked it up. I'm pretty sure that was where I decided the ignition switch went. I might have to check that, but anyway, what goes over here? What else do we have? Oh, headlights going here. That's the original starter button. Might make that like the trunk release or something. I can't remember what that one was for. And then we've got the accessory power over there, you know, like cigarette lighter stuff. So anyway, next up is this particular bundle of joy. These are the ones that go through the firewall and whatnot. I've already taped the ends of it together so I can feed them back through the firewall, because I'll have to do that from the front, which I'll do now. I'm going to go through there, because they've all got to go, well, that's got to go down to the transmission, that one's got to go to the mega fuse, and I can't remember where that one goes. Ignition feed coil. Oh, so that's the one that goes to the Terminator X. So that's only that big red one that actually needs to go right across over there to wherever I put that mega fuse, which I'm not sure where I'm going to put that. I want to put it somewhere nice and out of the way, but I'll leave them there for a minute. Okay, so this is where we're up to. I've just terminated that earth strap, get that out of the way. I've actually plugged in my heater and my wiper thing, get them out of the way because they're dialed. I have run my ignition switch stuff that comes from the fuse block, and then the two that are going to go out the firewall. The other keyed ignition, this will come out and go across to the terminator thingamajig jig inside the car, so that won't go through the firewall just yet, well, hopefully at all. So what I might do is actually put all the eyelets on these and actually put them on the switch, so then I kind of know they're done, and then that's the kind of switch pretty much done, other than something else goes to it. I can't remember what for now. I won't do the under the engine bay stuff just yet. I just kind of want to get some of this what's it, like the under the dash stuff kind of figured out. I've got this coming through the firewall just here now. That'll get loomed up eventually, because we're probably going to run all our headlight wiring, and that's going to come out, and I'll loom it all up into kind of one or maybe two separate things, you know. And at the moment, that 12 volt and the neutral switch are just coming out down there, because the neutral switch is going to go down to the trans, and that 12 volts going to go over there somewhere to that big mega fuse. But I haven't decided where to put that yet. I kind of want to figure out a few other things first, I think. But yeah, it gets out of hand pretty quick. So yeah, I've chopped back all my excess off here, so I thought I might as well just put my switch on, and they all just kind of have eyelets, so if I cock it up I can always, you know, cut them off. I've left plenty of extra length in it, so I can cut them off and put new ones on if need be. And these terminals are quite large, so that's my accessory terminals, quite large. We've got battery, ignition, and that one. Can't remember, I think that goes to the alternator. I can't remember, the exciter wire or something that goes to the alternator. I'll have to check, but something that has to be done with that. I have to put a diode or something in as well, so I'll need to do some homework on that later. And there may need to be a diode goes in for the vehicle speed signal, maybe. I don't know, I think I checked that out. According to Holly, you don't need to, but then I found some stuff from new vintage gauges and they said you do have to, so doing it with the terminator system. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. For now, I think I'll put some eyelets on all these and put my switch in. Make sure my switch fits through the hole too, actually. Oh, might be a bit much there, but slide that on. These are a bit snug, these little rubber things that came with the kit. A bit hard to get over the casings, but yeah, come on. I think I need to trim that back. I've got too much wire. And do the final crimp with these big mamma jammers. Put that rubber sheath back over there. Normally I'd just use heat shrink on this, but yeah, it came with this stuff, so there you have it. Ignition is pink and pink. Oh, I need to get these nuts sorted out. These nuts. I'm getting started. Okay, this went heaps easier in my head. Brown wire is going to go to my accessorize. And last but not least, well, not last at all actually, my red, two red wires come on to battery post. Got it. My neutral switch goes up the top there. Kind of interference we're going to get if I have them coming out the top like that. It should be all good. If I get me a zip tie, pinch them up. Alright, pinch them up. Now, I should be able to put that in the hole, in theory. So, put it up the right way. Yeah, right. Okay, so that's the switch kit kind of laid out for the inside of the car part anyway. Brush out. Next up I think is the alternator kit, which is I think where I need to be looking at how to install a diode thing somehow, I think, for the LS alternator. There's something that happens with them if you don't do it, it burns them out. I will hopefully have some reading material on that, or is it just stuff I've heard? I can't really remember, but I need to go and have some lunch because I'm really hungry, and then we'll come back and sort out what we got going on here. I think I found a spot for that mega fuse. Could put that in, I guess. I probably should. Yeah, I'll do that after lunch. Arm's not long enough. Right, Joyce. Okay, so got that bolted up. Now, just got to put, that's my 12 volt battery feed thingy jig that goes to the ignition switch. Now I've just got to make up another wire that'll go up to the 12 volt, I have to be all tightened up and stuff, to the battery. Know what I'm saying? Alright. Which one did the battery go? Okay, so I'm going to use this offcut of this big heavy gauge 12 volt that came off the ignition, the wires that went onto the back of the ignition switch initially. Hopefully it's long enough. Oh yeah, should be right. Might be just long enough actually. So I've just got to work out a route for it to travel. Put an eyelet on both ends. One will go to the positive battery terminal and one will go to that mega fuse. So with all that being said, I can probably put one of the eyelets on right now. Actually, heat shrink. Kind of bent it. What pliers that? Just put a heat shrink on there, just for good measure. I have to use one of these Bic lighters for this because my little butane torch ran out of butane. You know what I'm saying? Right, so that's that one done. I'll grab some more heat shrink and another eyelet. Give me that. Lighter. Pliers, strippers, eyelet, that thing, and you guys. Okay, so half the time in trying to do a neat wiring job is planning where you're going to run things and to try and make it tidy from the get-go. I don't really want to kind of just throw it all in there and then worry about trying to tidy it all up later. I want to, you know, kind of plan and cut and crimp everything at the right length the first time. So with that being said, I've been trying to figure out where to route this ignition wire up to the battery, and I'm thinking of running it way down there, not where you can see it now, but along this top lip of the chassis rail, you see, and then I can use this menagerie of bolt holes to put some P-clips in that and to kind of hold it all tight. Then I had to factor in what else has to come up to the battery, and one thing that's crucially important that it goes to the battery is this, which is the main power for the Terminator ECU. And so I just dug that out of the box and had a look, and I got heaps of length, so I can route that somewhere and then run it in parallel with that wire, that one there, which I could actually even get that into this sheath that the Terminator stuff comes in, that plastic black webby sort of stuff, just, you know, to keep it tidy. And then I could run that up the core support, up through here, or, you know, up behind that vent tube, and then across to my positive terminal, which is going to be right about here. I could have the positive terminal here, but I'm worried that, you know, it may connect with something it shouldn't do. Pretty sure I checked all that out, but I'll run that positive kind of into the more open cavity, I reckon. It just means the wiring will be kind of laid over or next to the battery in some way, which is not a big deal. Like I've always said, it's not going to be an engine up kind of, you know, hood up type car. It's got to be maintainable, fixable, and functional. So yeah, so that I got this cable here, my Terminator power supply, can't come through the same hole as the main engine management stuff, so we've got to have no kind of electrical interference. So I'm going to have to create another hole somewhere for this to feed through, and then we'll have to tie it in with that cable down there. I was going to put it under that engine bracket. I don't really want it running anywhere near that exhaust either. So the other option being that I bring them up together and run them underneath this stainless vent tube, and sort of kind of just run them in parallel underneath there. But I'm not quite sure now how to hold them on there other than using some like self-adhesive doohickey, because I'm not pulling it all out to drill holes and stuff like that. I'm just too lazy for that. I just can't be bothered. So I'll ponder it a little bit more, make a decision, then I can cut that to length, and then I can eyelet it. I'm probably not gonna, I was gonna put some of this sort of stuff on it on its own, but I reckon I might be able to run it together with that, which would be preferable. That way you kind of got one kind of power supply harness. What am I doing? Coming over here. I've got one power supply harness for the ignition and this, even though they're kind of be, you know, different wires. But that back there. And yeah, you know what I'm getting at. So I'll figure this out and I'll let you know when I've figured it out. But that's my plan. Okay, so I think I've got a plan, and pretty much scrap everything I said before. I'm going to run this kind of up this way, and I've got a couple of locations I can P-clamp all these 12 volt battery connections. I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to do around this pipe and that yet, but I'll bring it hopefully underneath it or down below these heater hoses, and then maybe bring it up the side of the battery box and to the positive terminal round about here. Yeah, that should work, I think. I'm going to leave a little bit of extra on it, so I'm going to cut it and put an eyelet on there, and we'll leave that just sitting in place for now. So here's my cutting devices. So I've just got to double check my length, so if that's P-clamp there, and then one up under there, that's going to come tracking through there somewhere, and over the top. I'll cut it about there. You can always shorten it. Alright, so So I'll leave that up there for the ignition. Right, now alternator kit, I think. Okay, so that's that ignition kit done. That's the switch. It's that mega fuse kit. That's done. Oh, I've got to put the cover back on. I've got to tighten it up too. I may still have to put other stuff in there yet, but I'll tighten it up and put the cover on before I forget. Be back in a sec. So, start installing kit A, B, C, etc. Yep. So B, alternator kit. I wonder if this has got the diode in it. There's mention of it in there, so maybe it's an optional thing. Let's have a look. No diode in there. Damn. Unless it's built in. Doubt it. Let me get this apart. Hang on, we better have a look. Whoa. Oh, typical. One of these wires has to run to that mega fuse that I just put the cover on. Good-o. Okay. Okay. What's going on here? I don't know, lots of bits of paper. It gets really confusing when you still have this belief system that electricity is just some kind of magic and you're not quite sure how it works. You know, copper wires and windings and stuff, things spinning, making electricity, and electricity making signals, and you know, if you're not careful, making you dead. We've got the big butty wire, which will be our main wire. It's this brown wire that we need to run to 12 volt ignition source, I think. Yep. And that's the one that we need to put a diode in line somewhere so the alternator doesn't backfeed, or there's a whole variety of reasons that I've read about that the alternator will do different things. If you're not careful, it'll either create a run-on problem by backfeeding, or it doesn't excite the alternator and make it charge. It needs this signal needs to tell it to charge, and from what I've read, the LS style alternators need to have, they don't want a full 12 volt, they just want like 4 or 5 volts just to kind of wake it up and say, yeah, get charging, and that's got to be on the ignition. So I've got a couple of diodes, but they're resistors. They're I'm not really sure what ohmage to use. 470 was mentioned on a YouTube video, and this one here has just got optional part, you know, American Autowire part number, so I'm not sure what one it's supposed to be, so I have to look into that. Figures. Anyway, so we got to run that. I don't know if I'll be able to use that as it is anyway, because my alternator is different, but I can run this over to my mega fuse, I think. Okay, first little hurdle is this. Obviously is a late model plug. This is the older style plug for a 2-wire setup. Second hurdle is my stud. It's too small for my terminal on there, so I have to drill that out and put that on there. And then we've got to figure out where to route these wires. That one's going to come off the back of the alternator and then down to the back of the engine, then across to our mega fuse. So I'll probably follow and tie in with that other 12 volt big red jammer over there somehow. But for now, I've just got to drill that out. Probably a 8mm or something like that. But I'll be careful because I don't want to kind of muddle this up. It should be about right. Okay, so I don't know whether to run that down and across there, or run it sort of behind the injectors and stuff. I don't know what the normal course of action for one of these is, but is it best just lay it in there? I don't know. Hey guys, so this wire here that I just spent all that time pondering over and thinking about and stuff and all that kind of thing, oh, that's wrong. What I just did was wrong. So that now that I'm doing the alternator wiring, I was thinking the alternator's got to come, you know, basically normally I would go straight to the 12 volt on the battery, the positive on the battery, but it's got this mega fuse in here, which was in the first kit I used, but I can't remember how I did it all, but that doesn't matter right now. But in looking into that, I was trying to think, okay, so what happens to it when it goes here to this unfused side of the mega fuse and then leapfrogs over to the battery, and then the battery has the positive cable stud to stud, if you know what I'm saying. So disregard this. I cocked that up, got it completely wrong, because also what got me thinking was the wire from the alternator is a heavier gauge than the wire that I just put on there, which was that 12 volt ignition one, and I thought, okay, if we're charging back into a smaller thing, it just wasn't adding up. So I got that wrong anyway, so I'm going to take that back off and put that aside, and we have to do this cable here down to the mega fuse and then across to the starter motor, if that makes sense. I hope. Anyway, what was I doing anyway? What got me in that path was I was just trying to work out the routing and stuff like that, and I was just using a couple of cable ties just to zip these together temporarily, just so it's a bit easier to manage, if you know what I'm saying. So this red wire here, that's off the 12 volt ignition, so that's all still good. That's the one that I brought forward from that junction box mega fuse thing. So if you spotted that before I did, good on you. Get that out of there. Don't need that now. So I need this. No, I need this little bag here. It's got one eyelet on there. I need a couple of big ones to go across. Oh, they're in that. Yeah, I know where they are. Yeah, they're in this kit now. So I thought I had spares, but they've got to go in there. That's got to get me over to my starter motor. So need some tools. Okay, so there it is. Ooh, last one. Oh, is that going to be big enough? Hang on, maybe a sec. It just looked small all of a sudden. So this piece of wire here is I should have done it a little bit different than how I am. I should have brought that alternator wire and then basically put them into one eyelet, so it was just like a pigtail type of deal, but I didn't think of that. So this is the jumper that goes across to the starter motor. So just put an eyelet on this and like crimping doohickey. Poise. Now, argument, crimping versus soldering. One of my customers at work is a auto electrician, and I hit him up. I said, what's better, crimping or soldering? And his answer was, depends on what you're doing. So some people are real advocates for got to be crimped, got to be soldered, whatever. The truck is all crimped with crappy little cheapo crimpers, and it's been that way for 8 years, so other than blowing up the motor I haven't really had any electrical problems. But yeah, so that's my little jumper that's going to go across from my starter to this mega fuse. I've made it long enough that it can tag into a hole, and I can put a P-clip up underneath when we kind of button all of this wiring in for the final button in, you know. But yeah, I'll just bolt this back in and we should be good in that part. Yeah? Okay. Okay, so just trying to get this back on now. It's a bit trickier with two of those things in. Yeah, yeah. Knuckles of steel. Now, as I said earlier, this bloody thing is kind of more, there we go, more set up for the older style, you know, type alternators, by all accounts, I think. And why doesn't that not want to work? What was I saying? Yeah, so being that this is a universal wiring, it's not specifically tailored to the late model-ish 20-year-old GM style, you know, plug. There we go. Right, so I don't know whether I still need that going to that positive on there like it says on the instructions, but in here, you know, plug it into the normal 2-wire thing, and one's, yeah, both of those go to that post. According to everything I've read about these LS alternators, is that they just have your main big cable and then your exciter wire. So it's an exciting brown wire, so I've got to figure out which terminal this gets plugged into, and then at some point I'm going to have to interrupt this line here and put a diode in it, but I'll do that out in the engine bay, like according to this like kind of kit that they sell for this style of setup. They just put it in, you know, like they put things on it, so connectors and stuff, so you can plug it in and out, but we're not going to worry about it today because I haven't got one. I'm not sure what the right one is. I've got 3 little diodes in the gauges kit. 2 of them are the same and one of them is different, and they're 10,000 K things, and so I've got to do a bit of research and figure out what that means. But anyway, we can still run this wire, and now that I've put the ignition switch in, I have to take it back out again because this has got to go to a keyed ignition source. So I've got to run it, put an eyelet on it, and hook it up to the key. So, but I've also got to work out which plug this needs to go into, so I'll probably need to do some Googling. Okay, so I've got that exciter wire run. I've just got to hook it up to the accessories post on here, like so. And then that's that done, other than that diode, which I've still got to suss out what I actually need for that. So that's that back in. Now this doesn't actually want to tighten properly in the dash, which is a pain. I don't know why. Yeah, that screws right down, so I don't know why it's not bedding down properly, but we'll persevere. Alright, I'll just put this back in. Okay, so I did some Googling and worked out that the signal is the top terminal on this type of alternator, and so that's where those wires are gonna run, not just like that. They're gonna be loomed up and things like that, which will make them look a little bit more presentable. And I'll probably look at kind of pinning them back, you know, down under somehow, some way, you know. Not sure yet how, but for now I'm just kind of running everything, terminating it, and then it'll probably kind of get all kind of undone, taped up or loomed up in some way. I've got options, got a saw ear, But yeah, so making a hurrah of a mess. Like, it's one of those jobs. It's kind of clean dirt, but it's a mess, you know. But we're getting there, I think, as long as everything works when we go to turn it on. Okay, so other than that diode, that's the alternator kit done. So that's, you know, done. Next up is the, according to the paperwork, is the headlight slash accessory kit. See, it says here, headlight slash accessory kit, and that is the headlight kit. And that's the headlights. There is another kit in here for, I think this is the accessories, which I think is basically ends up just being the horn, because I don't need the heater wire, horn and the radio, I think. Yeah, so this is just like the radio, heat and air, don't need that, wiper feed, don't need that, so, and then the horn. So that's pretty straightforward. But I'm not going to dive into this tonight. I'm just going to have a bit of a look-see. I want to have a look at this, make sure that the switch is going to go in the place that I want it to go. There should be a plug kit for that, I thought. It might still be in the box, but there it is. Oh yeah. No, yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, so that's it. It just goes there like that. Sweet. So that's all good. And that thing there is the little screwy in bit. I thought there was a plug for that. No. Ah, there it is. There is a plug for it. Sweet. So that just goes on there, like so. Cool, don't have to terminate all those plugs. Yeah, just got to take them all where they need to go, all of those ones. And these are all the, tells you what they are, headlight, high beam, low beams and stuff, so that'll go all out the front. Okay, so yeah, so that's the headlight stuff, and I'm not going to tackle it today. I'll hit it in the morning when I've got fresh eyeballs and not currently having a heart attack. I thought I broke my headlight switch. I was playing with it, and you know how it is. You fiddle with things, and then you kind of end up doing stuff to them. Where are we at? Yeah, so I mean, it's basically, I think this is their main stuff. Some of it is just going to go straight to the fuse block, so that's pretty straightforward. And there's some of it, this grey wire is for the, goes into the dash harness, and then there's dimmer switch stuff and all of that kind of stuff, all the usual stuff you would expect to have in a headlight sort of circuit and assembly on a car, any car, including this one. So yeah, anyway, till tomorrow. Hey guys, that's where we're going to leave this video. In the edit, getting a bit long, so I'm going to break it into two, and hopefully put a second video out later in this week. So maybe probably Thursday our time, probably Wednesday in the other countries' times. I don't know, like the whole time zone thing kind of just messes with my head. But as always, thanks heaps for watching. Don't forget, subscribe. We're on Instagram, Facebook, like, share, comment, and yeah, till the next episode of Wiring the Area 51. Take it easy and peace.